6:39. Let's have a look at some of the newspapers for you. Start with the Daily Mail. It leads with the manhunt for Abdul Azidi, the man suspected of committing the Clapham attack, that corrosive substance attack in Clapham.
And The Guardian is leading with US ordering strikes on Iran-backed militia in revenge for the attack on their base in Jordan.
The Telegraph has the chemical attacker being an asylum seeker, well, a failed asylum seeker, turned down twice before it was actually finally granted, despite the fact he had, by that point, been convicted of a sexual attack.
The Daily Express leads with Jeremy Hunt plotting new 1p national insurance cut.
The Times has the bank chief raising hopes that rates have peaked. That's Bank of England boss, we should say.
So joining us now to go through what is in the newspapers is political commentator Andy Williams and broadcaster and journalist Claire Muldoon. Welcome, welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Claire, what's the Chancellor doing? Well, because when I see that it's a 1p cut, I think, well, yeah, that's not much.
Well, yeah, exactly. So we wonder how many coffers that will bring into the Treasury. Jeremy Hunt, our esteemed Chancellor of the Exchequer, for how long? That's the other question. Is actually faced now with the fact that millions of people, 4 million people, will actually be brought into the fiscal drag, as it's being termed, which will move 4 million people into the higher rate tax of 45 pence instead of 40. And then that on top of the fact he's now saying he's not going to get rid of inheritance tax, which, to be fair, I think is fine, because it only affects 3% of the population. It's not a massive earner for the Treasury. But again, it's just all doom and gloom. But what do we expect? Where is this money coming from?
Well, no, but they've hit a real problem with this, because it was only a week ago, really, that we've been getting all these bits and bobs in the papers saying there's going to be big tax cuts in March. And now they're saying, oh, can't afford to do it. Well, that's hardly going to be a vote winner, is it?
Well, we know that the Conservatives aren't going to win, are they, really? Let's be honest about this.
You never know.
Well, you never know.
1992.
Well, true, but do we think Rishi's really got it in him to win an election?
No.
I mean, I really don't think the public have got confidence in the Conservatives at the moment, and I don't think the Conservative backbenches have got confidence in the Conservative government at the moment. But that's for another day. But the facts are they're not living up to what they're supposed to be doing. Andy gave me the 5 pledges that Rishi had to try and do.
Oh, yeah.
They've not.
Stop the boats.
Stop the boats.
Half inflation.
Debt falling. Cut NHS waiting lists.
That's it. And
there's a 5th.
And inflation.
Well, inflation's down.
But, well,
1 out of 5 ain't bad.
1 out of 5, the one that he couldn't control.
Yes, that's true.
That's the point, you know? So I'm not making a party political broadcast here on behalf of any political party, because, to be honest with you, I'm politically homeless. And I think they're all a cesspit of deceit and duplicity, and notwithstanding what's happening in Scotland, of course, it's just, and all the rest of the devolved governments as well. Stormont, where is it? You know, are they sitting? Wales, look what's happened under Drakeford, and Scotland as well. The whole country is in a mess.
We're not the only ones, though.
No, we're not. It is a global problem, but we need to attack and we need to look at what's happening domestically in order for us to grow as an economy, to grow as a society, and actually help each other.
Well, maybe we need more inspirational members of Parliament. But we're not going to get them if you look at the Daily Telegraph front page, are we? Because, I mean, just MPs are being put off the job.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the story about Mike Freer, the Conservative MP, who's standing down because there, I think, was an attack on his, was it his parliamentary office?
Yeah, there was an arson attack, but of course he was also targeted by the man who killed David Amos.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right. And I think it's a really, really sad reflection on the divisive nature of our politics. It's definitely got worse in the last 7-8 years, post the Brexit referendum. I don't necessarily think that was a reason, but I do think politics is more divisive even than it was 10 years ago. And we really need, as you said, Anne, we need good, inspiring, intelligent, thoughtful politicians. And why would you do it? What's the reason for you to go into politics right now if there's relentless abuse on social media, you're being physically attacked, potentially, you're being abused in the street, you're not being paid lots of money,
Oh, come on.
No, not really, not for...
Well, 80 grand or whatever they're on.
80 grand,
staff.
80 grand is a very good salary, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, your staff doesn't come out of that.
For the amount of hassle and for the level of responsibility, it's really, really not worth it. And I think we need to give politicians something. I'm not just saying it's money, but with all of these issues and problems they're having, it's a really difficult situation.
Two things on this. Was Lindsay Hoyle correct to say to the parliamentary MPs, you need to be kind to each other? Is it really the MPs that are, unkind to each other that promotes this level of abuse to MPs? And the other thing is, stop having career politicians. I've said this many times. I think if you want to be an MP in a constituency, you ought to have lived there at least for 5 years to actually know the ground, know your constituents and know what they need economically, environmentally and everything, instead of having...
I would agree with you. I think that's...
There's a first, Stephen.
It's a first.
It's a first.
I think it's a sensible idea.
Does it feel good?
Yeah, but the point is I'm going to disagree with you because I don't think that would alter any of this.
Oh, I'm sure it would. I think if you have the passion...
It's people from... It's not necessarily your constituents who are attacking you, is it? It's just people are just being nasty. This is social media's fault. This is society's fault.
Yes, but I think if the MPs came from a better place, and I think if people could then relate to them, I think it would calm things down.
You can't say that about Joe Cox or David Amis or others. I mean, they were good.
They were great,
they
great
were good
MPs. If there was more of them,
but they were still attacked and killed. I sort of feel the same way you do, Stephen. It seems to be such a social media thing.
I completely agree with that. I think the way that issues and controversy is whipped up on social media, and you have keyboard warriors who are there abusing people, faceless, exactly. They don't think about the consequences of using really, really violent, aggressive language, and that does translate into the real world,
tonality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, then the odd one actually does something terrible and violent physically, and it's happening more and more.
Yeah, it's a worry. Let's have a look at the eye, Claire, where it says Britain is the worst in the world for corrosive attacks, which I'm really surprised at, because, I mean, obviously lots of people are saying, well, these are very rare. Not according to these figures.
Well, it's recorded figures from some police forces, so the actual number might be higher. So Britain is the worst in the world for corrosive attacks. More than 700 attacks were carried out in England and Wales in 2022. That's almost 2 a day.
Gosh.
Now, these aren't random attacks, OK? These are people who are either paid by people to attack members of their family or ex-partners. So it's not some mad idiot.
Premeditated. Yeah.
Thinking, oh, what am I going to do today? I'm going to throw a corrosive substance on someone. It's not that. And it's actually worse. People are getting paid to do this, like hitmen almost. And we need to tackle why this is happening.
Is it cultural?
I don't think it is cultural.
Is it something we've got to be brave enough to talk about? Because you say here that Britain is the worst in the world, but we're keeping a tally on it. We're keeping count on the attacks.
Thank goodness we are.
There are countries in the world where they don't keep an account on this.
Of course.
It's actually much more commonplace.
And might not actually be reported either. That's the other thing. So the report also found that criminals also used the liquids because it made them feel less connected to their deeds.
Yeah, well...
so it's like
almost... It also disfigures for life. Well, and isn't that one of the aims?
The effects.
Horrific.
The effects of it are horrific.
I mean, look, Big Brother state and all that, I'm not a fan of. However, do we need to... this isn't your household bleach. This is stuff which is much more powerful. Do we need to be restricting sales?
Well, I think they already are. I mean, we tried to restrict sales of knives, and yet knife crime's gone, through the roof, especially in London. So I don't think restricting anything helps, but it might make the lawmakers feel better in terms of they might have, have the recipe to minimise 2 attacks a day. I think we need to look at, again, it's society, it's awful. It's corroding itself.
Heck. It's very worrying.
I don't know what you do about it.
I
mean, yes, you can restrict the particular substances.
But you can mix and make, I mean...
Yeah. But the other thing is it culturally acceptable in some cultures to go out and do that, particularly to women? The idea being to disfigure them for life. because they've fallen out with you. Or you've
Well, there is that as well, but, you know, I don't think in this country it's typically cultural, but who knows? But something, we need to look at it.
Who, Andy, is... Am I being really ignorant here? Who is Xabi Alonso?
Xabi Alonso.
Oh, Xabi.
Xabi Alonso, Spanish footballer, played for Liverpool, excellent player. I'm sure Paul would tell you lots about Xabi Alonso. He's actually the favourite to be the next Liverpool manager.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
right.
so he's a big cheese.
He is a big cheese.
With lots of money.
With lots of money. He's a very, very good-looking chap as well, actually.
Got a picture of him.
No, there he is.
Let's see him.
There he is, yeah. He's a very handsome man. And he has been the victim of a quite smart Instagram-related fraud.
Well, they've cloned his account.
That's right. And,
On Instagram.
And asked people for, I think it's £6.70. Please give me £6.70 a go. And you can imagine that if Xabi Alonso's asking you for that, then a few people are going to say, OK, then. Yeah.
And I imagine he has a heck of a lot of followers.
Yeah, I would have thought in the several hundred of thousands.
Why would he be asking for £6.70, though? I mean, it's such a weird amount for a start.
I know, but, I mean, people receive these messages and emails, and you see phishing emails, and 99 times out of 100 you look at it and go, well, that
Are you on Instagram, Andy? Did you send him £6.70?
Not on this occasion, but I might have done.
No, you wouldn't have.
No, I wouldn't have done. But as you were saying, Anne, before we came on air, you know, a handful of people will say yes, and that's going to add up, and that's why people do this, because it does. These very straightforward frauds are effective. They do work.
They do. I tell you what, if someone asks you for money, or some celebrity or whatever, out of the blue sends you a message on Instagram, ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get cloned all
you?
the time.
Do many people want to be Stephen Dixon?
They want to be me.
Wow.
I get cloned all the time, and thankfully get messages from people saying, have you messaged me? And some of them are asking for money. Not that I'm Xabi Alonso level of anything, but people pretend to be me and will ask you for money.
Yeah.
The Xabi Alonso of
not
GBNEWS. That's what they'll call you, Stephen.
Well, honestly, though, I think it's a disgrace. And there was one guy actually messaged and said, why are you pretending to be me and asking people for money? And he said...
To you?
I messaged him.
All right.
I messaged him. So why are you... I said, it's a disgrace that you're pretending...
Yeah, well, it is. You're right.
And he said, I need the money. What do you know? You've got loads of money. I need the money.
Well, it's forthright reply, isn't it? I got a text from the Royal Mail. It's obviously not the Royal Mail, because when you look at the... and it tells you to go and open links and send money so that you can receive a parcel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the actual email address is very, very...
Odd.
Very private, yes. mendushamar731@gmail.com.
Yeah, that isn't the
I
Royal
don't think
Mail.
that's the Royal Mail.
No, I keep getting those from Every.
So
or
I got one from Every as well, yeah.
Oh, really?
£1.45.
They're cloning, yeah. And again, it would, if they send it out to everybody they've got addresses for, it would add up, wouldn't it?
Delete.
You've got to be so careful not to click on anything, almost.
It's just those people who... And the other one, be careful of, tax refunds.
Oh, yeah.
HMRC, you're owed a tax refund. Just click here. Put your details in.
It's too good to be true.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
When
that'd be
does
nice.
that ever happen?
Exactly.
It takes about 5 years to get anything through from the tax man. Can we just have a quick look, Claire, at the Times, which says children shouldn't play rugby?
I know, and I am a rugby mother. My youngest, my youngest is turning 20 in a couple of weeks' time. He's a great rugby player. He's wonderful. He's been playing since he was 8. What a load of tosh.
It's a form of child abuse.
That's what this new study is saying. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, it's a very physical sport, right? So we've got, in this country at the moment, we've got issues with child development, child obesity, children not knowing how to socially interact with people, be active. Rugby is a great game for that, both for girls and boys. The camaraderie, the teamwork that goes on in all team sports, I presume.
Absolutely.
I can only speak from rugby, and we're talking about rugby here, as it's made the front page of the Times.
You've spent many a freezing cold Sunday afternoon on the line.
Mornings after a Saturday night that could have been a bit heavy, turning up. Oh, it's the worst.
I've done that too.
I did it.
I've done that too, but luckily my son's turned out to be no good at it.
Well, look,
I thought, phew.
They're now saying that, I mean, as if we didn't know this, but the cultural perception is that striking a child outside sport is abuse. you can't slap your kids now, but somehow it's socially acceptable to use it in sport. What they're telling is the high impact of sport, head injuries.
You can play rugby as long as you don't tackle.
Stephen, come on.
It's one of the worst causes of broken legs, apparently. If you go at the weekends, you go to an A&E, it's full of broken-legged rugby players.
And that's a true use of the A&E because it was an accident and it's an emergency.
Yeah.
Caused by a dangerous sport, some would say.
Anne.
No, I wouldn't, but I know that's what some people...
They know what they're letting themselves in for. And I'll tell you something else. The studies have shown, and I'm surprised this has made front page, because studies have shown that if they wear their headgear, it actually makes the injury worse because they feel protected, so they feel a bit braver. Oh. And the person attacking them thinks, well, they're protected, it'll be fine, and goes in for it.
Oh,
so that's really only to prevent the cauliflower ears.
Oh, yeah, you know what cauliflower is.
But it's a great sport. It really is.
And Six Nations starting tonight?
That's true. It's very in
France v Ireland.
Yeah.
Stop pretending you know what you're talking about. You've never played
You only know that, Andy, why?
I have not played rugby in my life. That's absolutely true.
There you go. Out of time. Here's the weather.